Raiders are truly having the worst season that is not related to anything to do with football, because we lost a legend, folks. We lost the great John Madden. And probably the biggest thing that infuriates me is that there's going to be generations of kids that only correlate Madden with a mediocre football franchise in video games at this point. Now, Madden, one of the greatest of all time coaches, just in terms of when you look at his win-loss record, I think it's still a franchise record to this day for the Raiders. Obviously a Super Bowl champion, the voice of football for the longest time. Whenever you just thought football commentary, John Madden's voice used to just pop in your head. I wish I was greater at impressions, but I'm just thinking about A-gap blitzes, turduckens, and boom. And that was John Madden there. Boom. We'll work that in here. We'll work in a few booms here for the great John Madden. So rest in peace to a legend. So obviously one of the greats in Raiders history. Then you factor in everything else that has happened with the Raiders this year, whether it be Henry Ruggs or John Gruden, two of their most famous coaches in franchise history. Obviously John Madden passes, and John Gruden, he's been executed by the court of public opinion at this current point in time, rightfully so in some aspects, but that's a different discussion in itself. But yes, just the Raiders, they're just having a rough one, man. They're just having a rough one, and it has nothing to do with their football. When it comes to their actual football, though, they still have a chance at making it to the playoffs. So maybe it could all be redeemed if by some miracle, by some hook, by some crook, they make it to the playoffs. And they have a good shot this weekend because, well, they're not facing Carson Wentz in the Colts. They're facing Sam Ehlinger in the Colts. So hook them here. Sam Ehlinger may be the starting quarterback. I should say maybe. We are recording here on a Wednesday, and I should just throw it out there because there has been the possibility floated online that Philip Rivers may get a game call for this game. And it doesn't yes. matter for the grand scheme of Raiders Colts whether or not he plays or Ehlinger plays. Ehlinger is a gamer. Ehlinger can give you a game here and there of anything. You look at what he's doing.
I like that. No, I like that. He's a gamer. He can give you a game. He can give you a singular game.
We've talked about it. We talked about it with Tyler Huntley before he was ruled out last week, that the longer backup quarterbacks have to play, the worse they get. Sam Ehlinger, I think he could come out and actually put on a solid performance for the Colts this week. Obviously, the Colts, they're led by their defense at the end of the day. When you have the big guy like DeForest Buckner hitting that A-gap blitz, boom, Darius Leonard there just knocking out the fumbles, just the most dangerous hands in the game. Boom, when he comes in with that. The Colts, their defense leads the NFL in turnovers. So if they can just force a couple, they could play conservative ball. They could get the ball into Jonathan Taylor's belly. It should be their pathway to victory here. Kyle, what's your analysis on this game?
There is a chance that Darius Leonard will also not play because he didn't play the game on Christmas because he has COVID and is unvaccinated. So there's a chance he might not make it for this game as well.
That's a big one there too, with Carson Wentz unvaccinated. Actually, too, there's another thing I should throw in here. The NFL and the NFLPA is currently talking about accepting the new CDC guidelines, which would move the 10-day window down to a 5-day window. So if you're Carson Wentz, you have the possibility of playing at least against Jacksonville. So the Colts don't necessarily need this win, and they could probably even beat Jacksonville even if Carson Wentz doesn't play. But that's just something to keep in mind heading into this game.
Yeah, and this is all leading me in the direction of the Raiders, which when I saw last week on the schedule that the 7-7 Las Vegas Raiders were playing the 7-7 Denver Broncos, I thought to myself, God, this game is terrible. But unfortunately, we have to care about this. And then the Chargers lost to the Texans in the morning window. And I looked at my calendar. It was around 1:25 West Coast time. And I saw that terrible Broncos and Raiders game was getting ready to kick off. And I said to myself, oh crap, one of these teams might actually make the playoffs. Oh no, please don't let this happen under any circumstances. But I do have to say, if one of these teams is going to be forcefully spoon-fed to us, losing by 21 points against the Buffalo Bills or Kansas City Chiefs in Wild Card Weekend, at least it's the Raiders. At least it's not the godforsaken Denver Broncos. And we have to watch that terrible offense that can't move the ball to save their lives get demolished in a playoff game. And all of that is analysis and jokes to say that even though the Colts' entire offensive line is on the COVID-19 list, and even though Carson Wentz, unvaccinated Carson Wentz has COVID-19 and will probably not play in this game. And even though Darius Leonard, best middle linebacker in the NFL, may not play for the Indianapolis Colts, there is still one principle that has rung tried and true across years and years of watching football, which is if you ever start to think that the Raiders are good, they are not. It is a trap. It is always a trap. I am picking the Indianapolis Colts to win against the Las Vegas Raiders and prevent the Las Vegas Raiders from having a winner-go-home game to make the playoffs against the Chargers. It will not happen. The Colts will win this game, and the Colts will clinch a playoff spot.
I wanted to go with the Raiders just based off the standpoint of given all that tragedy that they've had experience throughout the course of the season. I actually think it would be a good story. Would it be as good as the Miami Dolphins coming back from the dead this season to make the playoffs? Would it be as good as Justin Herbert in the playoffs? Would it be as good as, I don't know, the Ravens? Somehow Lamar just manages to whittle them in. The Raiders would have been an interesting story had they made it, but I guess I'll go with this principle based off our Miami Dolphins thing. Let me just sink further into my Colts and just say, hook 'em, Sam Allinger, baby. Let's go and get it. Let's get that victory. They don't need to sign that old man, Philip Rivers. Sam Allinger, you're back. You're back. You're starting. You're behind center. Let's get it. Jonathan Taylor, just give it to him. Just give it to him. That's a good principle for life when you're out there on the field. But Sam Allinger, use your legs and you'll get past it. When it comes down to it, the Raiders, their game planning in the wake of John Gruden getting fired has just been so all over the place. They built up a lot of equity earlier in the year with their record to begin with. But ever since John Gruden was ousted as their head coach, it's put a lot of pressure on Greg Olson to have to come up with game planning, and Greg Olson is not a good game planner.
I love the name of the coach. Any chance I get a chance to say Rich Biscoccia, I like to say it.
Rich Vespaccio. Yeah, he is not a good game planner either. In fact, it's gone to the point. So the Raiders, they actually released their head coaching candidates list at this moment. And it just sounds like a lot of retreads. Here are the current favorites for the Raiders head coaching position: Todd Bowles, Wesley Frazier, Gus Bradley, Rich Vespaccio, so keeping it in-house. Those are the top 4 names currently standing out there at this moment.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. At least excite me, Raiders. Be fun. Get someone
Do
out there.
more than that.
Go
interview some people.
Todd Bowles, he's getting talked about a lot for this one. And
Todd Bowles is the only good one there. Leslie Frazier, that's a terrible hire.
Here's
Gus Bradley, that's just because he's the defensive coordinator.
I think the Raiders need more help offensively now, because I think that Gruden, again, was able to build up some decent fixes and tweaks for their offense to make Derek Carr make that offense go. And they really haven't had that. They've actually been really good defensively. They've been good defensively. I don't know if that
matters as much. I think it's just we know Leslie Frazier's not a great coach.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in terms of their defense, they have defensive talent. And if you're able to retain Gus Bradley as your defensive coordinator, then you don't necessarily need to double down with a defensive head coach. If you could get someone that complements Gus Bradley and you just build up a good staff, I think that's probably the way to go. And Rick Vespaccio, you probably even keep him as a good special teams coach there. They have a decent coaching unit aside from Greg Olson that I think if they just kind of build that team around, they could actually be okay next year, because it was looking good up until it wasn't for them. They just had personal tragedy. And just from a football standpoint, disregard everything else. When you take out a talent like Henry Ruggs was from a team, that is a huge blow that we don't talk about.
But didn't they just sub Deshaun Jackson in and kind of just keep it moving?
He's not as good. He's just not as good at the end of the day. I mean, he can still get open, but now it's also Derek Carr has kind of shrunk into himself. He doesn't take as much chances when Deshaun Jackson is open, but they were able to do so many different things with Ruggs that they're not able to do with Jackson. Jackson has one go route. We talk about Michael Thomas just having one thing that he does exceptionally well. Deshaun Jackson has that thing that he does exceptionally well, but he doesn't have a whole lot of nuance to his game planning, and whereas Ruggs actually had that in his bag, and that's just a whole other thing, but that's a whole other tangent there. But either way,
check out the old Slumpbuster podcast episode where we discussed the Henry Ruggs situation.
Right. We have Ruggs. We have a whole segment on John Gruden. You just want to go back to the archives and just see all the madness from the Raiders season to this point. definitely. We covered it all. We talked about it all on this one.
I would say I feel like I was painted unfairly there in the light of the Raiders. I'm not saying that the Raiders making the playoffs wouldn't be a fantastic story, and they can do the rah-rah John Gruden thing in the last week of the season and take down the big bad Chargers and make their second playoff appearance in 20 years. I'm saying I don't want it because I know they're going to get slaughtered in a playoff game, and I don't want the Raiders on the screen
because
in the
you're a
playoffs.
hater. Just accept who you are, Kyle.
Justin Herbert at least has a chance to pull it upset. The Raiders are going to get slaughtered by whoever they play in the playoffs. Just like the Dolphins are going to get slaughtered by whoever they play in the playoffs. Like, the Raiders are not good.